Welcome to Shades of Migraine, a podcast series created by the Association of Migraine Disorders. Migraine isn't black and white. It's blurry and shadowy. But there are many forces at work trying to change how we think about and deal with this disease. We hope you'll enjoy listening to a wide variety of voices, including the perspectives of both people living with migraine and those that are trying to help. Each will share their unique shade of migraine. In this episode, we talk to Jaime Sanders, also known as the Migraine Diva. Jaime is honest and real about her life with migraine for the past 30 years. She has many helpful tips and tricks, including ways to combat stigma while visiting an emergency room during an attack, how keeping a journal can be useful, and how she makes the most of her migraine support system. All right, so welcome, Jaime Sanders, the Migraine Diva. Tell me a little bit about yourself and why you're here today.
I'm a migraine patient, and I've been a migraine patient for over 30 years. And over the course of those years, I had to learn to deal with stigma and figure out a way to manage chronic pain through childhood and into adulthood, and also into how to manage that with being a wife and a mom. And it took its toll on me, but my history as a writer propelled me to journal about my experience because I started to feel alone in that experience. And that opened the door to advocacy, which has then fulfilled me in ways that I didn't expect and gave my pain a purpose. So I'm here because I'm a strong advocate for migraine awareness, to end the stigma, and to be a voice for people who feel like they don't have one.
That's great. So you're a writer. Tell me about that.
I started writing when I was about 8 years old, and it just was just natural to me. It was just a really easy way to convey my feelings. And that's also the same year I was diagnosed, the same age I was diagnosed with migraine. So it was just a natural way for me to explain what it was I was feeling emotionally and physically, because it was hard to find the language sometimes to explain it, but creatively I could. And it's just something that just flourished as I got older, and I really enjoy putting pen to paper and just expressing myself in those terms, even if it's just journaling. There's just so much I can get out that way. It's cathartic. It's releases a lot of negative energy and negative emotions and puts things in perspective. And I feel like my words connect people and give them some sense of community. So I really take pride in the fact that I can provide that for people just through, the words that I choose to convey out there.
And I think you share a lot of tips and tricks and things that work for you, right? Some are traditional, some are not so traditional.
Exactly, I do. Whatever I find that works for me, I want to share, just to open up people's minds to other ways that you can manage your chronic pain. And it's not always, traditional medication and things like that, but just being mindful and taking time to take care of yourself and learning to just breathe, because we're not always taught to just breathe through things and just release that energy. I'm really a strong proponent of those things. It's helped me a lot, and I know not everybody is willing to do it, but I just want to put that out there. There are other ways you can manage your pain and have a better quality of life within the limitations you have with chronic pain.
So what have you learned about meditation?
Meditation to me is something that allows me to become more focused and more in tune with my being and the core of who I am. And it permits me to just give myself that self-love and self-kindness that we so often don't give ourselves, especially when you have chronic pain, chronic migraine. We spend so much time focusing on how negatively that impacts our life. So it takes practice and it takes a lot of determination and focus, but it's so worth it in the end, because you start to disassociate your illness from who you are. You don't identify that as who you are. You know that you are who you are supposed to be, despite what your chronic pain is making you feel like. And to me, that's what meditation does. It frees you from that and releases that guilt of having chronic pain.
So what's it like being a mother and a wife? And you also have comorbidities too, so it's as if migraine's not enough. You're challenged with some other issues.
Yeah, it's not easy being a wife and a mom, and I got married really young and had my kids really young, so I had to go through this process of becoming chronic with small children. And it's not easy, and I'm a Leo spouse. My husband's a law enforcement officer, so that added stress of his career and what he puts himself into every day when he leaves to go to work is another added stress. So it's difficult that, I was basically a single mom a lot of the time because he's always at work and he works midnight, so he's not always home, so I'm there during the day, and I'm struggling with chronic migraine and chronic daily headache. And like you said, I have comorbidities, so depression and anxiety. So it took a lot out on me to try to really find a way to balance everything. And honestly, my children are my entire existence, and they motivate me to do whatever it is that I can for them. But I'm also a very honest mom, and I've always spoke to them in terms that they could understand, depending on their age at the time, what it is that mommy is experiencing and what it is mommy can do for you today. And I might need you to help me out. So I've always made sure that they understood that mommy's trying, she can't always do it, but I also empowered them to help and make them delegate things amongst each other and work with each other. And to me, that made them more compassionate and have more empathy. And they've grown into such amazing young adults. And I couldn't have asked for better children. And they don't make me ever feel guilty or at fault for being sick. And they're always there to support me through it. And I can be as honest as I can with them about how depressed I may be feeling one day or how bad my anxiety is making me feel. And they're there to walk me through it, talk me through it, and just even lay with me sometimes. At one time, my 16-year-old just came in my room and just laid down and said, I just want to be here with you because I know you're having a bad day.
It's got to be the best therapy.
It is. It is. It's amazing. So I know I'm blessed with what I have,
Right.
In the four walls that I occupy at home. So it's been a struggle. It has not been easy to fight these battles and have to raise children and be a supportive wife. But it is manageable when you have perspective and you see what is really important. And it's about taking notice of the small things and the little things and not taking those for granted and amplifying that in your life. And that's something my husband and I have always done, especially with our kids. So I really try to interject that within my own life and how I go about my day-to-day living.
So I had the pleasure of meeting your husband last night. You are blessed with a wonderful family.
Thank you.
That's got to help a lot, just having that support system.
Yes, it's amazing, and I've had that since childhood. My parents are amazing support system for me. Migraine runs in my mother's family, so she recognized what I had when the head pain started. And she and my father both just never made me feel like I was a burden to them. They were always there for me. My immediate family, my grandparents, my cousins, they were all so supportive. My friends were supportive. And I just so happened to find a guy that was like, okay, that's all right, and I'm here for you, and stuck with me through the worst of it. So I know how blessed I am for that, because I know too many people in the migraine community who do not have that, who lose relationships and careers and are fighting this alone and in silence. And because I'm blessed with that support, I have that in abundance, I want to try to provide that for other people and be that beacon of hope and light for them.
So what advice could you give to someone who's suffering?
My best advice is for you to know you are not your migraine. Understand that and take that in and breathe that in, and really, really believe that you are not your migraine. You are not your symptoms. It is something that is debilitating, yes. It puts limitations on your life, but that is not the end of your story. It's something that you can turn into empowerment if you try to focus on what living with a chronic illness has provided you in a positive way. It may have taken some things away from you, but what has it brought to you? What has it made you see more clearly now that you couldn't before? And you really have the strength within you. If you can deal with migraine, especially chronic migraine, on a daily basis, you are way stronger than you think. And you deserve the time and energy to put into yourself and advocate for yourself and take care of yourself. Everyone deserves to be kind and good to themselves and to love themselves.
And you're sharing that with so many people.
Yes, I try to.
They're at their lowest.
Yes, because I know what that feels like, because I've been in extremely low places and I've worked my way out of that. And it took a lot of work and a lot of counseling and a lot of just talking through it and trying different things and finding out what works. And knowing that I've never lost that sight of hope, though. And that was very important. No matter how small that light was at the end of the tunnel, it was always there. So I kept my eye on that. That was my focal point. As long as I focused on that, I can make it through this really extremely bad day. And as long as I can get through today, I'll worry about tomorrow. Let me get through this today. It's baby steps. But because I managed to crawl myself up out of that hole that I was in, and I'm in such a better place, I want to share that with others who were in that place I was in 5 years ago. It's okay, you're gonna make it through and you're not alone. And I'm here to help you through that. I'm here to hold your hand, even if it's virtually.
Well, and many people that thank you for that. So tell me about where you are now with your migraines and your depression.
My migraine is way more managed now. I finally have been able to see a headache specialist. About a year and a half ago, I started to see Dr. Rosenberg up in Baltimore, and he's helped me tremendously get them under control. I'm still chronic, but they're way less severe and easier to treat with less strong medication that I used to be on. And I continue to do Botox every 3 months, and I get nerve blocks if I need them. So I'm very well managed at this point. And plus I use my mindfulness and my meditation and my deep breathing and reflection, and I work my tools. Everybody knows what works for them, and you have a migraine toolkit and you work your tools.
I think that's the great advice there. Is to keep looking, don't give up.
Exactly.
There are a lot of things to try.
There are. I love essential oils. I love massage. Nutrition is huge for me also, watching what I eat, and just having a higher and a more positive outlook on the day, and giving myself permission to not be okay is a huge one. If I just can't do it today, I can't do it today. It doesn't make me less than, doesn't make me invaluable. It doesn't invalidate anything about me. I just can't today.
I think you're allowing yourself not to feel guilty and adding that other stress on top of what you're already experiencing.
Exactly, and that guilt then compounds the pain and makes it more severe and more difficult to get through. So definitely letting go of that emotional attachment helps you get through and manage your chronic pain better.
So we are here in Washington, D.C. for Headache on the Hill.
Yes.
Is this your first year?
This is my first year,
Okay.
and I'm super excited to be a part of this movement, and to be an advocate on this level is it's very humbling, and I don't take it for granted, and I'm just really excited to be a part of this process, and I look forward to it, and I know that this is something that I want to continue to do every year as long as they allow me to be a part of it. It's just amazing to advocate for migraine and headache disorders on this level.
Yeah, so what will you be doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow I will be meeting with congressional staff to get co-sponsorship on a bill for reducing the use of opiates and finding more research and funding for finding better modalities of treatment for chronic pain, including migraine and headache disorders.
Well, thank you. That's exciting. All right, let's talk about stigma. What have you experienced from a stigma standpoint?
I've experienced stigma more so in the doctor's office than from society in general. And that happens a lot for me in the urgent care or ER setting. When you go in after you've had a migraine for about 6 days or 2 weeks and everything you've tried at home hasn't worked and you're in this intractable migraine state and you're in severe pain and need to be treated, your pain isn't validated at all. And a lot of times you're treated as a drug seeker in those environments. So it's so difficult to advocate for yourself when you're exhausted and you've been in pain for weeks. And you have to prove that your pain is real and that you need certain medications to break this migraine. And ER and urgent care doctors aren't always willing or comfortable to do that. And that's difficult.
It's difficult to prove something you can't see.
Exactly. And then you're constantly asked, well, are you doing enough? Or have you done this? Or have you done that? And that's just offensive, and I don't want to hear that. I came here because I am in severe pain, and I don't want to go through my 31-year history with you at this point. And it's gotten to the point where I walk around with a migraine binder. So I have all my protocols, all my medications, all my doctor's appointments, all my prescription medications that I take daily, my supplements in there. You don't believe me? Look at my binder. This is my proof right here. I shouldn't have to do that. But I have to weaponize myself when I go into the urgent care or ER just to avoid that situation and that stigma. And what that stigma encourages in people is anxiety, because you don't know what doctor you're going to get when they walk through that door. Is this person going to believe me and take care of me? Or is this person going to question me and not fully treat my pain? And is this going to be a waste of my time? And I don't need to have an anxiety attack on top of an intractable migraine, because I don't know what kind of care I'm going to receive in the next few minutes.
And I imagine an ER is probably one of the worst places to be when you're having a migraine.
It is. It's extremely bright, extremely loud. And when you check in and you're there for an intractable migraine, they don't say, well, here is a dark room for you to sit in. You're sitting there in the waiting room. So as a chronic migraine patient, I have to go with my migraine glasses and earplugs and eye mask and ice packs and whatever it is I can to make that wait more comfortable, because I am not going to be given the accommodations I need because of the pain and my sensitivities to the light and sound and noise. They're just not going to accommodate me.
So what advice would you give others? It sounds like you kind of put a kit together.
Yeah, it's important to make a protocol with your neurologist or headache specialist. If you know what works for you in those settings, have that written out by your neurologist or headache specialist or your primary care physician, whoever you see that treats your migraine or headache disorder. Have a plan in place so they can't question your treatment. It's there written down and signed off by your physician. This is what my patient needs. This is his or her history with migraine or headache, and this is what he or she needs to break this when they're in an intractable status.
That's great advice. You're also involved in National Summit of Pain Management. How did you become involved with that?
I became involved in that through the Headache and Migraine Policy Forum. And they suggested that I be a part of the panel to discuss the stigma of migraine and headache. And it was just a wonderful opportunity to be that voice and again share how stigma affects migraine and headache patients in a way that makes receiving care really difficult sometimes. You're either undertreated or you're just not treated at all, and you're not validated. Your pain is not validated. And having to have a disease that's so stigmatized and have to advocate for yourself on top of that is such a burden. But the more that we do advocate for ourselves and educate people during that process, the less stigmatized we will become. And they'll never give up on yourself, and know that you're worth the fight.
And thank you for tuning in to Shades of Migraine. For more information about migraine disease, please visit migrainedisorders.org.